Archaludon versus Hisuian Goodra. These are both phenomenal Steel and Dragon type Pokemon that have a base stat total of 600. Prior to Generation 8, we only had one in Dialga, but now we are gifted with two more powerful Steel and Dragon type Pokemon. This type combo is rare, but I think that's what makes it special because the few that do have it are pretty powerful. Archaludon versus Hisuian Goodra though is an interesting debate because both of them are powerful by their own merit in the metagame. If you take a look at first glance at their stats, many might surmise that Archaludon is the worst one off, simply because of its horrible special defense stat, and Hisuian Goodra, other than its low speed, really has no weaknesses on its stats. At least on the surface level. I tend to disagree though, and find that Archaludon is the better Steel and Dragon type Pokemon despite this very flaw. Before we find out what in my opinion makes it better, if you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe for more competitive content just like this as we're on the road to 20k, so your support will be greatly appreciated. Again, thank you for all the recent outbursts of support, it's been honestly amazing, and thank you again. Let's get back to the video. Before I go into Archaludon, I want to go and look into Hisuian Goodra first. It is clear from the first glance that this is a Pokemon with much more upside because of its humongous stats, but we must also remember that stats don't always define a Pokemon competitively, and what other greater example is there other than slacking? Hisuian Goodra basically has a base 100 plus in every stat except for 2, being exceptional in both defenses, and its HP is still pretty good. Archaludon on the other hand is completely flipped the other way. It has higher power, better physical bulk, and is faster, although that doesn't really matter when most of the meta anyways outspeeds you. Regardless, the better power is one of the key traits that make Archaludon a more interesting prospect. Base 110 special attacking stat for Hisuian Goodra isn't all that special, but base 125 is far better and helps you hit the metagame way harder as well. This plays into a role actually in what I believe one of the biggest game changers for both of these Pokemon, their move pool. It is no secret now, but Hisuian Goodra does not have the greatest of move pools. And before you guys question me in the comments of, oh, how is this move pool not great? It's got every coverage move it needs. Let me explain. Yes, I suppose by general standards, it has a phenomenal move pool. However, this isn't a move pool for what this Pokemon demands. A Pokemon with this stature of stats, you would expect to have some great supporting moves for what seems like a defensive Pokemon. However, it has nothing of that sort, and in fact, the move pool it gives off is for more offensively oriented Pokemon. That is not a move pool it needs, and this wouldn't be much of a problem if it had some set of moves to begin with, which again, other than acid armor, it really doesn't. The move pool is great, sure, but for the signals it gives off as initially, that isn't something Hisuian Goodra needs. Archaludon on the other hand has a similar mindset when it comes to the move pool, however this is executed in a much more beautiful fashion. For starters, it is much more imposing offensively with the base 125 special attacking stat, which is the same as Walking Wake, and we know how powerful that is in the metagame. It has good coverage moves in Draco Meteor, Flash Cannon, Thunderbolt, etc. However, there are two moves that make this Pokemon much more splashable and way more interesting in my opinion compared to Hisuian Goodra. The first one has to be the move of Body Press, which is a much more fitting move for Archaludon because of its higher defense stat in combination with its stamina ability, which helps makes it stronger over time, and I'll explain that a bit later. Furthermore, since Steel and Dragon are primarily blocked by Steel type Pokemon, Body Press helps take care of this little situation. Hisuian Goodra, yes, has Body Press and actually has the move Acid Armor and actually has another coverage move in Flamethrower, but Archaludon is a much more bulky physically and doesn't have to waste a moveset raising its defense stat as it will be raised automatically when it gets attacked. While the move Flamethrower is great, Hisuian Goodra risks it not being as powerful if its special attacking stat, which is already not the greatest, it gets compromised. Archaludon on the other hand is not bothered by -2 on its side after using Draco Meteor, as Body Press will still be very effective afterwards. This by far is one of the biggest trends for Archaludon when we compare both bulky Steel and Dragon type Pokemon. The other move I wish to talk about is the move Electro Shot, which on paper seems mid, but once you realize you can get it off in one turn underneath rain, it makes it more interesting, and the reason is pretty simple. Most rain abusers are water types, which while water is fine defensively, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to know that you can blow through this pretty simply with Thunderbolt. Archaludon, however, is an interesting case where it is a viable rain abuser with this move that not only does heavy electric damage but also provides a meaningful increase to his special attack stat, which is already huge to begin with. Rain teams get a great defensive Pokemon in exchange for Archaludon to increase its offensive potency. Pretty good trade in my opinion. And meanwhile, for Hisuian Goodra, well, let's just say, its signature move is just a worse version of Acid Armor. And to keep egging on it, the funny thing is, they gave Archaludon pretty good utility moves in Stealth Rocks and Thunder Wave, both of which Hisuian Goodra would much appreciate, especially since it is a defensive Pokemon and it has like no such thing of that. Other than stats and move pool though, the other big thing that really helps a Pokemon out are its abilities, which again, for a greater example, we can come to slacking. Hisuian Goodra has 3 unique abilities, but I think the most interesting one has to be Shell Armor, which essentially blocks you from the RNG of critical hits. Not being able to be crit is a huge factor when it comes to competitive battling. Preventing limiting crits, the more chance this Pokemon will be able to live and set up defensively as it pleases throughout things like Acid Armor. Archaludon meanwhile has two good abilities for competitive singles in Sturdy and Stamina, but Stamina is the one that is the most eye-catching one. I briefly touched on it before, but previously this was an ability noticeable only on Mudsdale, making this the second Pokemon to ever have this powerful defensive ability. This is an ability where every time Archaludon gets hit in battle, its defense stat increases by 1 stage, which again greatly boosts its defensive and offenses through the move of Body Press, which makes it much more scary on both fronts. Archaludon out of the two is the better physical wall with higher HP and higher physical defense. Raising your defensive makes it much more of a burden for your opponent in this physically dominant metagame, which even though Archaludon has worse special defense, it is still able to capitalize because of the environment around it. If you look at both abilities, while Shell Armor does protect you from crits, Stamina is definitely considered to be the better one out of the two because it provides more utility to an already bulky Pokemon. Shell Armor protects you from one of the game's RNG mechanics, sure, but there's nothing better for naturally bulky Pokemon to raise their defenses even throughout competitive play. It makes it more annoying and harder to play around because of the added longevity they will have throughout battle in comparison. Now, I know, Archaludon does struggle mightily on the special defensive side of things, but there are two things you can really do to help it out. One, being naturally physically defensive allows it to invest its EV spread into special defense safer, as it can help bolster that weak side as well. In addition, the item Assault Vest also helps boost its special defense even further and helps patch it up as well. And with a consistent move pool, this doesn't really prove to be a bother at all, as it has Body Press, Thunderbolt or Electroshot, Draco Meteor, and Flash Cannon, which are all pretty solid coverage moves that can run underneath this variation. And because it has utility moves, namely Thunder Wave and Stealth Rock, the Leftovers variation, because of the physically dominant metagame, has also sprung up as it fits to be that physical defensive wall on balanced teams. I think though, for all these reasons I just spat out, you can see why I consider Archaludon to be the better Steel and Dragon type Pokemon. If you just want a special wall, then I understand Hisuian Goodra is definitely your choice of picking. But in my opinion, the role that Hisuian Goodra offers through its move pool, I think Archaludon does it better. It has a way better move pool and a way better ability that makes all the difference despite the low special defense stat, and it can even fit on rain teams pretty well. It's very versatile and has ways to patch up its special defense stat that makes it even more bearable, even though it's a horrible base 65, which I do acknowledge is really putrid. I'm happy anyways we got evolution for Duraludon, as it deserved justice, and Archaludon does just that. It will be interesting to see whether or not this stays up in OU however, or joins with Hisuian Goodra down in UU, and if so, what impact that has on the usage of Hisuian Goodra in the UU metagame. There's so much that's going to unravel during the new year, and this headline is with no exception. Anyways, I've rambled on probably far enough. You guys get my point. I think Archaludon right now is just way better than Hisuian Goodra, and it'll be interesting to see what happens in the coming months. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think of Archaludon in the metagame so far, and thank you to my members for their continued support. If you wish to support me even further, the links to my YouTube membership and Patreon are found down below in the description. Comment down below the tower emoji as well, and be sure to join the Chompy Discord, which is also found in the description. Other than that though, I'll catch you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching as always.